Two down, two to go for the LA Kings. We are talking Stanley Cup playoffs and more on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube and Amazon Fire TV. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years. Also one of the co-hosts of Locked On NHL Game Night, a nightly podcast that also is wrapping up the night in the NHL. And of course, a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. The LA Kings played Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Playoffs against the Edmonton Oilers, coming off their heart-stopping 6-5 win in Game 1. But unlike in Game 1, the Kings left no doubt in Game 2. LA scored 3 power play goals en route to a 6-2 win over the Oilers to grab a 2-0 advantage in the series. And unlike Game 1, where the Kings left the door open late for Edmonton to make a late surge and nearly complete a miracle comeback, this time, the Kings outscored the Oilers in the third period 3-1 to slam the door shut on a big win. The big takeaway from this one for me is the same as the other game in the series, and that is a team that has had great defense and great goaltending all year now has high-scoring offense and not only a power play that can be okay, a power play that can win games. Remember all the shows during the regular season when we talked about how the Kings power play just needed to be okay? Well, it's more than just okay. It's downright awesome. Not one, not two, 3 power play goals in Game 2. 5 power play goals now so far in the series. The Kings are 5 for 10 with a man advantage so far. That's 5 more goals than the Kings had in 5 playoff games against the Oilers last season. Credit Jim Hiller for going with the 5-forward power play unit, and credit the players for making it work. Credit Rob Blake for either being a genius or lucky in finding a player who cost next to nothing and has made a huge impact in Andrei Kuzmenko. And credit Kuzmenko for seizing this huge opportunity to join a playoff team, to be put on their top line and get top power play minutes. And at this point, it has worked better than anyone could have dreamed. Oh, by the way, the Kings penalty kill, which has been good all year, is now 5 for 5 on the PK in the series. So the special teams have been very special in the playoffs so far for the LA Kings. Now, if the Kings can put together anything close to this kind of offense, 12 goals in 2 games, and this kind of power play to go along with the defense and goaltending that we've seen throughout the regular season, we could be looking at a team going on a deep playoff run. But it's just 2 games. The Kings, who have not been great on the road this year, have yet to show that they can do anything like this away from LA at this point. So we'll just say, so far, so good. But of course, there is a long way to go. But the Kings only have to win their home games in this series. And if they do, and they've been borderline dominant on home ice this season, then that would be enough. And home ice this year for the Kings has been a record-setting year for them. They were the best regular season home team in the NHL. And with the 2 wins now in the playoffs, the Kings have won 33 of 43 home games this season. As for the Edmonton Oilers, I think they look pretty lost. I had talked about it in our Game 2 preview show. Would Edmonton start Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl together? And in fact, they did. And I had said that I actually like it because the Kings only have to really concentrate and worry about one line. Now, of course, the Kings aren't taking it any easier on the other lines, but when McDavid and Draisaitl are together, as great as they can be, I think it's easier to focus on them defensively when they are on the same line. Plus, when they're together, I think sometimes they almost look to kind of defer to one another. When McDavid is on a line without Draisaitl, McDavid clearly is going to lead that line. When Draisaitl is on a line without McDavid, Draisaitl is clearly going to lead that line. But when they're together, again, they're both great. And sometimes they can make it work. But I just think that, only one of them can shoot the puck at one time, right? Yes, they can set each other up. They did it for a goal in the first game, but in game two, they were together and they ended up combining for one goal and 1 point. Now, I talked about Connor McDavid after game one, and he was special. He almost single-handedly brought the Oilers back. But I told you, as great as he is, he's not going to have a 4-point game every night. And even in the game he had 4 points, they lost. In game two, 0 points for Connor McDavid. Fantastic team defense, top to bottom by the Kings. Great credit goes to, I think, Mikey Anderson in particular, as he was battling with McDavid for most of the game, it seemed like. But all of the Kings players, forwards, defense, great job on bottling up maybe the best player in the NHL right now, certainly one of them without question. And they kept him out of the high danger areas. Leon Draisaitl did have a goal, and that's fine. But make the other players beat you, which frankly, I don't think they can. They haven't shown it anyway. And at least through 2 games, Edmonton, desperate for someone to give them some offense from someplace other than the top line, inserted Evander Kane into the lineup. He made his season debut in game number 2. He missed the entire regular season due to injuries and surgeries, and he didn't do much in this one other than take a cross-checking penalty that gave the Kings a power play, which they scored their first goal on. Now, to be fair, pretty hard to drop a guy who has literally missed the entire season into a playoff game and think he's going to do much of anything. But I think that's how desperate the Oilers are to find some offense other than what they get from their 2 stars. Now, we knew going into the series, one place LA was going to have a big advantage was in net. And I told you I wasn't too concerned with Darcy Kemper, despite giving up 5 goals in game 1. Well, he was right back to form in game 2 against the Oilers. And as for the Oilers in net, they're already making a change. Stuart Skinner did get the start in game number 2, but he's now allowed 11 goals in 2 games, 5 goals on 28 shots in game 2 before he got pulled and replaced by Calvin Pickard, who immediately gave up a goal on the first shot that he saw. I have no doubt the Oilers will turn to Calvin Pickard in game number 3, but I don't see him as being any kind of a savior. I don't think they do either. They just probably think at this point he couldn't be any worse than Stuart Skinner, and that's probably true, but there is a reason why Calvin Pickard was number 2 goalie. Plus, to me, right now for the Oilers, their issue is their team defense, not necessarily their goaltending. Their issue is their penalty kill. I think the goaltending, whether it's Skinner or Pickard, is pretty much going to be the same. But with the Oilers defense missing their top defensive defenseman in Matthias Ekholm, they've been pretty suspect at this point defensively. And now in a huge game, the Oilers have to turn to their number 2 goalie. Not a great situation for them right now. So we do what did the Kings do well? What did the Kings not do well? I honestly don't have any major issues that I could point to and say the Kings didn't do this well in game number 2. Now, obviously it wasn't a perfect game, but I really don't have any major points to say that's got to be better, which is great. We already talked about the special teams. The Kings were still good 5-on-5. They had balanced scoring, 6 goals from 5 different players, and they started well and they finished strong. How about our coach's quote in this one? What did Kings head coach Jim Hiller have to say about the victory in game number 2? He said, quote, "We've played really well. I like how we've played. We finished pretty well. If you score that many goals, I thought tonight in particular, we had some shots alone with the goaltender and beat him. We finished really well. So there's some different things that go into when you're finishing well. Scoring goes up a little quicker. Just generally, overall, we're playing pretty good, solid hockey. Offensively and defensively, I think both parts are there," end quote. And I can't disagree with him. I just offensively, defensively, goaltending, special teams, so far through 2 games, it's all working for the LA Kings. As for the game stats in this one, for the Kings, they win it by a score of 6-2. They outshot the Oilers 31-26. Special teams again in favor of LA. Kings were 3 for 5 with a man advantage, while the Oilers were 0 for 3. Faceoffs, favor the Kings 35-32. Hits favor the Oilers 36-24, and block shots favored Edmonton 15-10. How about our stat of the night? The LA Kings this season are now 42-0-4 in games in which they've scored 3 or more goals. Up next, we'll get into the surprising lineup change for the Kings and what may have been behind it. As far as the rest of the players, we'll tell you how they did. Adrian Kempe with a big night. That's next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. FanDuel makes it easy, whether you're picking your favorite team or diving into player props, from three-pointers to steals to assists. FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live props into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. LA has 2 teams in the NBA playoffs as the Lakers are taking on the Timberwolves. That series is tied at 1-1. Game 3 Friday in Minnesota, and the Clippers are tied at 1 apiece against the Nuggets. Game 3 Thursday night in LA. Make those games more exciting and more fun by using FanDuel to wager on all that NBA playoff excitement. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. I said in our preview show that I did not anticipate any lineup changes for the Kings, but we did have a lineup change, which was surprising and unexpected. The Kings went back to the 11-7 setup, 11 forwards and 7 defensemen, which we have seen off and on during this regular season. Out of the lineup was forward Alex Turcotte off the 4th line. In was defenseman Jacob Moverar. So why did Jim Hiller decide to do this? Good question. Here is what the Kings head coach had to say about that. Quote, "I'm not going to get into all of that this time of year. I usually try to give you guys a pretty fair assessment during the regular season when we do that. I'm not going to give you everything that went into it for tonight. Some guys didn't play that much. Moverar didn't play that much. Hellenius didn't play that much. We'll keep that one to ourselves, but we've done it enough times that we know we're comfortable playing with 11-7. We'll see where the next game is. It could be 12-6. It could be 11-7, but I'm not going to give you any insight into it tonight." End quote. And that's fine, but that means we have to speculate if he's not going to tell us. So Jim Hiller could be protecting Alex Turcotte as far as maybe he's got an injury that he doesn't want to reveal, or maybe Hiller is just being coy and doesn't want the Oilers to know what the Kings are going to do in the next game. If he just wanted to get an extra defenseman out there so that Mikey Anderson, Vladislav Gavrikov, Drew Doughty, and Joel Edmondson can get a little bit of extra rest when battling with Draisaitl and chasing around McDavid, that makes sense. But if you're going to do that, why did you take out Alex Turcotte? It would seem that if you were going to take out a forward off the 4th line, it would have been Jeff Malott. Now, I guess maybe the argument for Malott is that he is a lot bigger and more physical than Turcotte. Of course, Turcotte is a lot faster, quicker, and more energetic. So one positives, negatives for each side. So we'll see how it goes forward for the LA Kings. Certainly, I hope Alex Turcotte is okay. But Jim Hiller's right. As far as any kind of adjustment, the Kings have used that 11-7 off and on for most of the year. So I don't think it was a big deal for them in any way for Jim Hiller to say, hey, we're going to do that tonight for whatever the reason it might have been. Let's get into some of the individuals in the big win for the Kings in game number 2 against the Oilers. Of course, we start with goalie Darcy Kemper. He allowed 2 goals on 26 shots, had a big save point blank on Zach Hyman when the game was 1-0 about midway through the first period when the Oilers won the power play. That was his biggest save of the night, his best save of the night. Other than that, I think he made a lot of things look pretty easy. It's certainly not as easy as he makes it look, I think, most of the time. The 2 goals he allowed were both on deflections down low. Leon Draisaitl, the first goal, and then Victor Arvidsson, the second goal. No soft goals allowed in this one by Darcy Kemper, as you would expect. And you just knew he was going to bounce back from that game 1 performance, even though, like I said, I didn't really think he was that bad in game number 1, but a very solid performance in net in game 2 from Darcy Kemper. And as he continues to provide a big advantage for the Kings over the Oilers. Adrian Kempe was front and center in this Game 2 victory. Huge game for Juice, 2 goals and 2 assists. After Wednesday's playoff action, the NHL's leader in points is Adrian Kempe with 7. 4 other players are tied for second with 5, including Andrei Kopitar and Andrei Kuzmenko. What do those guys have in common? They all play on the Kings' top line. Kempe's 2 goals both came in the decisive third period. 2 perfectly placed wrist shots into the top corner of the net. What a sniper. What a finisher. This from Kings insider Zach Dooley, who said in a post on social media, Adrian Kempe now has 14 goals in 20 playoff games over the last 4 seasons. Obviously, those are all against the Oilers. So when you talk about the most underrated players in the NHL, I think Adrian Kempe's name should be listed in that. We know how great Juice is. I'm not sure the rest of the NHL knows. I'm not sure fans across the NHL know. Hopefully the Kings can go on a deep playoff run and Kempe can continue to show the NHL and hockey fans that he is an amazing player. He also showed me something I didn't know that he had, but then again, there was never really reason for him to show it off. But with the 5-man forward group on the power play for the Kings on the first unit, Kempe is playing the point. Now he's at the point because he's a really good defensive forward. And if there's a transition or if there's a turnover and it has to go the other way, he's the best equipped amongst the forwards to play defense. But he unleashed a couple of big bombs from the point, and I didn't know he had that in his tool bag. Again, he doesn't show that off when he's out there with 3 forwards and 2 defensemen because he's never on the point. But now that he is, he rang one off the post, which was a great shot. And then on the Kuzmenko goal, he shot it wide of the boards, bounced back in front of the net, and Kuzmenko was smartly there to put it home. So Adrian Kempe can do a little bit of everything, even play the point on the power play. Andrei Kopitar scored the Kings' 5th goal and their 3rd power play goal of the game. Great feed from Kevin Fiala. Cross-ice pass, the captain puts it into a wide open net. He had a sweet pass to Kempe after getting a turnover in the Oilers' end. A drop pass into the middle of the ice for Kempe to get it with room and score his first goal of the game. And Kopitar also a secondary assist on the goals from Kuzmenko and the second goal from Adrian Kempe. So a 4-point night for the Kings captain. Andrei Kuzmenko, another power play goal, 2 now in 2 games, and what a difference he continues to make. I told you at the deadline, I didn't expect much from him. He's been phenomenal. Exactly what the Kings needed to help their power play, but also jumpstart the Kopitar line, which was obviously great in game number 2. And for a smaller guy, 5'11", 190, he's not afraid and is very good at getting down low in the crease for rebounds. He can hunt pucks very, very well. And obviously he's skilled with the stick around the net. And that's how he scored the Kings' 3rd goal. Second power play unit was on for this one. Or I should say second power play goal in the game. Again, off the end boards, a Kempe point shot. He's right there, puts it in for the goal. Quentin Byfield, 2 goals in 2 games now for Q. Scored the Kings' 2nd goal in game number 2. Just a gorgeous shot into the top corner of the net from in close. Byfield has come a long way in a short amount of time. Remember earlier this season, he was getting chances, but he wasn't finishing. He worked on it, and now he's one of the top finishers on the team. And Byfield's getting banged around pretty good by the Oilers. It seems like they're targeting him, probably because they know how important of a player he is. And I love that he does not appear to be getting frustrated at all. It seems like he's had the attitude of like, okay, you can knock me down. I'm coming. I'm going to keep coming. I'm going to keep coming. And that's the right attitude to have. Not saying he shouldn't stick up for himself if the opportunity arises, but they want to knock him off his game, and he's not allowing them to do that, which is a great, great sign. Maturity for Quentin Byfield, and just so excited about his future, and his presence not too bad right now either. Brant Clark scored the Kings' 1st goal, his 1st career playoff goal, and when he scored, I turned to the guy next to me. I'm like, who was that? I didn't expect him to jump up in the play like that, but the rookie defenseman on the power play saw an opportunity on the rush, joined the play, and was able to get that goal playing on the second power play unit it was interesting that he and Drew Doughty were out there together on the second power play unit. So two defensemen. Maybe it was because it was in the final seconds of a power play, and Jim Hiller wanted to make sure that he had two defensemen already out there when the power play expired. Either way, good read and nice finish from Clark. Great pass, though, from Warren Fogle. He put it right on his stick as he was crashing the net. And I have to say, getting back-to-back goals in this game from Brandt Clark and Quentin Byfield makes you feel pretty good about the future for the LA Kings. But not a bad present either, like I said. Checking the team leaders for the Kings in the win over Edmonton, you had Adrian Kempe and Andre Kopitar each with a 4-point night. Kempe led the team with 8 shots on goal. Quentin Byfield and Joel Edmondson led the Kings in hits with 4 apiece. Edmondson had 2 blocked shots to lead the team. Mikey Anderson led the Kings in time on ice with 24 minutes and 27 seconds played. Andre Kopitar led the Kings in the faceoff circle, winning 19 of 29 faceoffs, 51.7%. I will say the Kings have been really good on faceoffs on the power play. They've been able to start in their own zone on the power play most of the time. All right, coming up, we have our 3 stars of the game to give out, and we have some other information to pass along as well. That is next here on Locked on LA Kings, your team every day. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, maybe playoff tickets, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check out your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. All right, let us pass out the 3 stars of the game for the LA Kings. And you could probably see this one coming, but it is the entire AAA line with Andre Kuzmenko, a goal and an assist. He gets the number 3 star. Andre Kopitar with a goal and 3 assists for the number 2 star. And the number 1 star, Adrian Kempe, 2 goals and 2 assists. Kempe and Kopitar are the first pair of Kings skaters to have 4 points each in the same playoff game since Game 2 of the 1992 division semifinals, when Wayne Gretzky and Paul Coffey did it. And that was before I became a Kings fan. And as I like to mention at the top of the show, I've been a Kings fan for over 30 years. So it has been a while for that to happen. Kings fans were once again, I want to say, fantastic in game number 2. Another electric atmosphere at Crypto.com Arena. It was great to meet up with several everydayers. I met up with Jordan and Nick, Julian and Crystal, Rich and Juan, and Tim from the Royal Rant podcast. Thank you guys for all your support. It was great talking a little hockey with you guys in between periods and before the game. And yes, the Korean harmonica ladies were there to perform the national anthem. The Kings actually tricked us, which was kind of fun with this one. So the harmonica ladies were not on that stage where they were for game number 1. Now there's a stage in the arena where the in-arena hosts, Mikey and Kayla, do their thing. Special guests are, they bang the drum up there. And when I saw Hannah Davies singing "Oh Canada" down on the ice, I looked over to the stage and there was nobody there. And I was a bit disappointed. However, the Kings, again, tricked us. They moved the harmonica ladies over by the restaurant, and they were all decked out in Kings jerseys. The crowd went wild when they were introduced. And I love it when things like that just kind of emerge in sports, whether it's the Rowdy Monkey or it's just some special song that gets the fans all riled up. It is fun with the harmonica ladies, and it's now a part of this journey for the LA Kings. So hopefully they're able to remain a part of this, and hopefully the Kings can keep winning. I did want to give you a quick check of the Kings prospects in the OHL. Kings first round pick forward Liam Greentree and his Windsor Spitfires were the victim of the reverse sweep. They led the Kitchener Rangers 3-0 and then lost 4 in a row. Game 7, an overtime heartbreaker. And Liam Greentree didn't have a point in the final game. He finishes the playoffs with 14 goals and 24 points in 11 games. A great postseason for Kings number 1 pick, Liam Greentree. One of our listeners, Edward, asked me if we're going to see Greentree with the Reign or the Kings now that his season is over. He will not be joining the Kings for sure. He's going to be a very talented player in the near future, but it's not right now. But like goalie prospect Carter George, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't join the Ontario Reign for the AHL playoffs. So we'll keep an eye on that. And that would be exciting to see Liam Greentree and Carter George playing for the Ontario Reign in the AHL playoffs. So Liam Greentree is out. Kings defensive prospect Jared Woolley and his London Knights still competing in the OHL semifinals, while they will now face the team that eliminated the Windsor Spitfires, and that would be the Kitchener Rangers. And the Ontario Reign open up the AHL playoffs against the San Jose Barracuda in a 3-6 matchup. That is going to be at Crypto.com Arena coming up tonight. First round of the AHL playoffs are a best of 3. So there is still some more hockey action going on at Crypto.com Arena coming up later tonight with the Ontario Reign. And of course, game 3 of the Stanley Cup playoffs between the Kings and Oilers coming up on Friday night, now in Edmonton. During the day, we'll be having our Kings fan feedback show on Friday. As for what changes we could see in game 3, I'll say it again. I don't expect any changes from the Kings. Now, they could go back, as Jim Hiller said, to the 12-6, but either way, not any big changes for the Kings. As for the Oilers, are they going to stick with McDavid and Draisaitl as line mates? We'll see. But I do expect Calvin Pickard will be in net for the Oilers in game number 3. And we'll see, can the Kings take how they are playing so well at home on the road with them? Can the power play continue to be a major weapon for them? It'll be very interesting to see. But again, Kings took care of business on home ice, now leading their first round playoff series against the Edmonton Oilers 2-0. All right, for you everydayers, those of you listening, watch Locked On Kings every day. Again, coming up on our next show is the fan feedback show. And then coming up the following day will be Kings Oilers game 3 recap. Want to send an email for the feedback show or anything else? The email address is lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE. Always welcome to post your thoughts on each show if you're watching on YouTube in the comments section. And we would love you to stay connected with the show on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're at Locked On LA Kings. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you for listening and watching Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you on our next show. As always, go Kings, go.